this. There we go. Keep going.
Yeah, with this 10-week-old, my opinion of working out was beforehand. I was probably once or twice a day, every single day, 7 days a week, and then all of a sudden, the baby shows up, and I'm lucky. Like yesterday, I ran outside. I've got a garage gym, and I got a 25-minute workout, and I can't tell you the last time I was able to do something like that.
I have one on the way.
Yeah.
I have two.
We get it. We get it. We talk about it a lot.
Changes everything.
It's already it changes the perspective of how to do things like travel. We just saw Bert Kreischer last night live here in San Antonio, and it was, for as much as it costs to go do that and have the great like almost front row seats that we had, I was like, well, once a kid comes. Oh, and even once you hit the third trimester, there's no traveling, there's no doing all that extra stuff. You're kind of just waiting for it. And so, like, Jess, she was just tired. She took a 2-hour nap. I think I played the show for a little while, and then, like you said, working out and all that kind of stuff is much. Like, I'll do a partner workout with Liz. I think we're doing the BCS Classic, and then she wants to do power output down here. And I'm in for it. I'm just kind of like between the ankle getting better. And then I don't know. It's not like some men, like when their wife get pregnant, like they just kind of get lazy with the wife because it's like, what am I going to do? Constantly be on the go while the wife's tired and like make them feel like shit. So I definitely have inherited something where it's like as soon as Jess got pregnant and I started seeing her be sleepy and like want to do just a little bit less physical activity, it just started changing my mind of like, okay, do I try to ramp this back up or do we just kind of coast at this clear thought?
Yeah.
And fuck it, man, I might end up going to a Lifetime gym in the next like 9 months. Because once that kid comes, there's a spitting distance from my apartment.
There's no like your priorities will change. It's okay. Like when the kid gets like 3-4 years old and they can walk around and understand what you're doing.
Yeah,
dude, you'll be able to go back to CrossFit gym again.
Oh, 100. Yeah. I can't necessarily, not that like we're strapped for money, but even like when a kid comes, just having an extra $100 in your pocket instead of paying for CrossFit, when I can pay $180 instead of $270 for the two of us, and I can walk the 5 seconds it takes from my door to the Lifetime.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, when I'm done working out, I can go sit in the steam room or the sauna room.
Yeah.
Granted, there's going to be a bunch of dudes with their old saggy balls just hanging around.
A bunch of wrinkly nut sacks. Jesus.
They're like, oh, hey there, kiddos. Be like, fuck you, man. I'm almost 30 and I have a kid.
He's like 30 wrinkles ago on my nuts. I was able to, lift as much as you were able to lift. So bam.
Yeah, sure. Does every fucking old man in the world while they're all struggling to piss while it hurts.
I mean,
but I'm just imagining the like Captain Morgan pose after the shower, just standing there with one foot on the bench and everything just hanging.
And they've been in there for 45 minutes.
Just having a conversation about how the stock market's fucked up.
Oh, but it wasn't fucked up in my time. Oh, hell yeah, man.
When we're that age, we'd be like, back in my day, we had TikTok.
Back in pro-abortion.
Pro-abortion era, we were able to do all these things. God, that's a whole other topic.
Notice how I fucked that up instead of prohibition.
Pro-abortion. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Boom, boom. Oh shit! I'm looking at my neighbor right now she does not have any legs, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's like 95, rolling herself out the door. Like, dude, she's got this pink ass trucker hat on. Looks like she's about to go to fucking like Mardi Gras parties.
Is she overweight or is she like?
No, she's just an old lady.
Dude,
but I guess she's an amputee from above the knee, I think.
Yeah.
W amputee. Shit, could be the diabetes, but
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like diabetes could have caused.
And then once you're in the chair, I guess the diabetes goes away with the legs.
Phil, you're sipping on some wine over there, I think, right?
No, it's.
Give me a second. I gotta grab something to sip on.
Yep.
Yeah, a little Basil Hayden. So.
Oh, nice.
It's been so hard to get good whiskey down here. I guess just with everything going on with inventory. And
Yeah.
this morning with the nonprofit, this is a weird random fact, but with taxes, April 15th is when you got to turn in your personal taxes.
Mhm.
For nonprofits, it's May 15th. And so my CPA got everything done a couple of days ago. We want to make sure we're 100% transparent with everything we do. So today I had my treasurer sign it. That's one of the things we have to do. And then I had to haul ass over to the post office, and just right there by the post office happened to be a ABC store, a liquor store. Popped in just on a whim, and they had Basil Hayden. I was like, finally, there's some quality whiskey here. So I was like, I'm going to enjoy this tonight.
Yeah, you should. You deserve it. You got a 10-month-old. You need something to take the edge off. Like I was just over at Jared Anderson's house. He's one of my good friends. And also Steve, he agreed to go on the podcast whenever we're ready. But we were sitting there and he was trying to snatch 310 and he was like, "You're here. Help me." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm here. Let's do this."
What are you gonna do? Put your finger up his butt while he's sitting in the squat?
No, like it's weird because when you get to like that level of competition, like that good at it, like right before I had to go and help Tam with her car, like he is in the mindset of once I start this, I'm going to do it. And if you've been following his Instagram, he hit 300 from the hang, but he was like, "Hey, I need to do this from the hang because my legs aren't that strong." I was like, "All right, cool, man." We're sitting there. He started from an empty barbell, 130, empty barbell 95, 135, 165, 185, 205, 225, 245, 265, 295, 300, 310. And he hit it. And I was like, dude, that is egregious. He's going to post on the story today because I was in the background yelling like a little schoolgirl, like happy as shit. And
yeah, he's got to remove that so nobody thinks that there's a 13-year-old girl in his garage.
It's funny. Fuck you, Steve. It's funny because like I was back there and he's like, "I'm not gonna cut you coming in and giving me a hug and picking me off the ground." I'm like, "Good, don't cut it
out." Hey, so that I know because I don't know, are him and who still together? No,
it's been a long time.
And he's still in that house.
Yeah, that's his. He owns that.
Well, I knew that. He fucking paid for that in their cars in fucking cash.
Everything in cash. The man, he's doing financial advising now. So, like, the reason I wanted him to come on, or like, not to take away from Phil's episode, but like, he is now certified to be a financial advisor in the state of Colorado, Texas, Utah. And the amount of knowledge that he has from, a year of going through classes and everything.
There's a lot of dummies in those states. So he's going to have a lot of business for a lot of years.
Dude, yeah, he is. Like, he was talking
like every kid that graduates, what is it? CSU,
Colorado Springs, or UCS?
UCS. All those kids coming out with a shit amount of debt. Oh, Jared, teach me how to snatch while you teach me how to fucking get off my $200,000.
I got one on the couch right now. She's 170K in. So
but she's also a pharmacist. She could pay that off and give it 10, maybe 15 years.
Oh,
but with
the
way our president's taking this,
might get forgiven.
No, it's never going to get forgiven. I wouldn't doubt them. What I just want them to do is take this $40 billion they just gave Ukraine. They didn't even give $40 billion to Ukraine.
Bro, I saw the breakdown.
Only gave half of it to the United States military.
Yeah.
And then they only gave 1/4 of the other half to Ukraine, followed by 1/3 of that last 3/4 to other countries surrounding Ukraine to help their economies with how Ukraine fucked that up.
Because of the refugee crisis that came from that.
And then the last 1/5 is for operating costs.
But the thing is, you know how that works with lobbyists, like Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, all of them lobbied for all that money because they want to go to the military so they get contracts extended.
So I see the USMC. My dad was a Marine. let's go through this just real quick. I don't want to go through the whole bill. I just want to go over how absolutely fucking stupid this is.
But my cousin chews crayons too. It's okay. I love her.
I have a couple of vintage crayons. My dad left them behind.
I've been aging some crayons for you, Phil, if you want them. So
I had that 72 pack, so I have quantity over quality.
I bet his favorite color is favorite flavor is Purple Mountain Majesty.
So can we talk about the fact that we have people like, all right, so we had the abortion talk last week, right?
We did.
So Jess and I had to talk about it, and then she has her views. Mine skew like it's like you're merging onto the same highway, and then there's a second merge off to like get off an exit before you would merge onto like the next highway or whatever, right? I probably take the next highway, just gets off, but we're going in the same direction, right? And she just goes to me, she's like, these people in the government, I don't trust fucking any of them. You couldn't point out fucking one of them that I trust. And I was like, this is starting to get to the point where after I saw the breakdown of the costs and everything that we're putting, it was very simply put to me that does anybody else feel like every person that leaves the military to high rank gets a board position and or becomes a senator or a congresswoman or a man, and then immediately we end up putting bills out that do this exact same thing where we just pay all of their buddies whom they have bought shit from through their chains of command that they ran.
I'm so
from
happy
the same companies that they then I've known this for a fucking decade.
She just had this aha moment.
But no, she said it over like abortion, and I was just like, well, hang on. So then when I saw my that guy Dan Holloway had posted this, I read the whole thing that he or that other account put out, and I was like, do we really not fucking, or is our society, and maybe this is a question to talk about to begin this podcast, is our society so, I guess, forgiven, forgetful? I don't know if there's a word that actually comes up with that other than fucking stupid, but are we so forgiven, forgetful that like this shit can happen right in front of our face? The evidence doesn't, like, this is not one of those like innocent until proven guilty. It's perception is reality.
Oh yeah.
If so-and-so has $500 in his pocket and shows it to you, and then 5 minutes later, the other person in your group had $500 and the first dude doesn't, either he stole it or he fucking gave it to him.
Let Phil hit this one first, and I'll hit it after you and give you like a wrap up of it all, because I'm really good at this.
The only thing that's keeping me mellow is seeing this lady roll around in her wheelchair with no legs.
Oh god damn it, Steve. Jesus Christ, we're back to the cripple lady. Fuck me. Yeah. She's probably a good person. She just, stares at her natural enemy now.
Dude, she probably chain smokes cigars, bro.
She should at that point.
I think she has fake feet on.
Man, if I was 90 years old, I wouldn't give any fucks. Like,
dude, I would sit out on my porch.
My life
expectancy. I would, if I was that lady, I'd probably cash out my 401k, buy a big ass house, and then I would turn it into a murder scene. Because I would probably sit on my back porch, knowing it's my last few days, do whatever the fuck I want, and then, but hey, if I suicide myself here, somebody's getting this house real dirt cheap. Just my only claim: bury me in the backyard, put a rocking chair on the back deck, and just let me chill for the rest of my existence.
I think it was Ron White's stand-up where he sat down and he was like, me and my wife had a good idea. We made a suicide pact. He's like, we're going to go out to this cabin in the mountains.
Yes, it was in Arizona.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to go out. We're going to float. And he's like, we're just going to rack up all of this. And, they can't evict you out of it. They can only change the door code. But if one of us is always in there, we can just keep staying and keep enjoying ourselves. And then we go down the river, pop ourselves in the head, debt-free.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right. Do you think that our country as a whole is as forgiven, forgetful as it may seem?
I think our attention span is so quick that I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, it's not forgetful. I think of the movie Up, where that damn dog.
I went right there.
That to me is, what I think about our culture. There's this story, And then all of a sudden this story comes out and this is forgotten. That is in essence what I think is really what the problem is. I don't think we have the attention span to pay attention to, these stories well enough and get to the root causes and fix the problems. And the problem is in a year, 2 years, 3 years, the same damn problems we're dealing with today is going to show back up. Like, and I think about, we're looking at the Ukraine. When I was a captain in the Marine Corps, 2011, 2012 timeframe. Don't quote me on the exact dates, but Republic of Georgia happened, right?
Yeah.
And so it looked, smelled, felt just like what happened with Ukraine. It's like we didn't learn our lessons from that, and then all of a sudden you see all the same signs happening with Ukraine, and it's like whatever side of the fence you're on, the signs are there, and we had the option to do something and intervene before there was a full scale ground assault.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't learn our lesson from almost 11 months ago, like 10, 11 months ago. I mean, withdrawing from a nation is not the same as possibly having to deal with the incursion of Russia into a different nation. But we didn't figure out the fact that, like, hey, we're not as good at fighting wars as we thought, and we're definitely spending too much cash. Let's hike that up by $3 billion or $3 trillion.
What does it sound like, gentlemen? What does it sound like? 2008. You remember when all these companies thought they were too big to fail? GM, Ford Motors. They thought they were too big to fail, and that's kind of the same situation in history with
the housing market is 1,000% sitting on the cliff.
But it's still fickle. It's still very fickle because we're sitting on this bubble, and if you take
it's not a bubble, it's a cliff.
No, but this bubble is getting so big, especially you can see in Colorado Springs, like it's a seller's market. Like if you want to sell a house for $120,000-$200,000 more than you paid for it 4 years ago, it's very easy. And you're giving these loans to people who don't have good credit backing. Like you're throwing out all these unsecured loans. Like they're not secured. They're not backed by any collateral.
So I wouldn't even say this. So much of it is bad loans or bad credit. Everybody, I think now, especially after the pandemic, everybody had good credit because you didn't fucking do anything.
Right.
But people weren't going out. People weren't trying to buy up housing. They weren't trying to go out, go on trips or whatever. So you had about 2 years plus. I mean, the stimulus checks, let's be honest, like, what's that? Like $2,400 for most people after the 2 or technically 3 of them. Everybody knows that they went to Costco with that fucking money and bought a big screen TV, an Xbox, a laptop, whatever the fuck. Or they were like, I have this huge credit card bill. Let me pay that off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody really put this money into savings. Smart people put it into the stock market, which they're probably regretting right about now. But I would say the people in, especially Colorado Springs, there was a seller's market during that time. I think credit is up. Am I wrong?
You're right.
No, you're right.
2.49%. But
that's not enough to buy a house. But I would definitely say
that's plenty to buy a house. You can have a 650 and get a house, Steve.
No. But I'm saying from a 703 to a 711, right?
Yeah, that's a jump, but it's very small.
It's a jump, but that's not like, hey, if I had a 650 and now I have a 682, oh, hey, time to go buy a house. No, it's still not my time if I'm that person. But I would say that everybody probably paid some form of debt and or learned, hey, maybe I don't need this really expensive car. I don't really go that far that often, or I don't want to. Think of all the people that are like still wearing masks and they're like, I don't want to go out at all.
Yeah.
So cool. Honestly, I would say people's credit is probably up, but the problem is that everybody went out and bought a house, and everybody that had a house going on 3 or 4 years saw their value up. And if they didn't have kids, they were like, fuck it. All the military folks sold their houses.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you were in the military the last 5 years, especially in Colorado Springs, especially, you are, how did Zach Galifianakis say it? A retard if you did not sell. Because I know 3 people that made over 75K, and they only own their houses in that area for under 3 years.
Man, I'll tell you, my father and mother-in-law, they live in Houston right now, and that's where I met my wife. But they last year saw the market where it was, went to sell their house. The realtor came in, said what they were planning to list it for, said you needed to list it for 100,000 more. Listed it for 100,000 more. It went on the market on Friday. By Sunday, they made it an additional $100,000.
Oh yeah. What do you like? But what do
Wait,
you?
they put an extra 100,000 on the 100,000 they already put on?
Yeah, so they walked away 200 in the positive. They've been living in an RV for the last year. They saw an opportunity.
Coasting, baby.
And so they're going to drive their RV. She retires May 27th. My mother-in-law retires May 27th from the school district in Houston. They're going to drive here, park, at a RV lot just down the road from us. And that's going to be their life until they can until the housing market crashes.
But that's the thing. What's the driving factor of making houses more valuable? What makes one house more valuable than the other? Comparables, everything around it. So if she sold that house for 200,000 more than its valued, everybody else around there is going to have to jack the price of their house up. And what happens when people think they can afford it, but they can't, and they go, "Oh, I'm going to buy a house," and we're preparing to buy a house. We saved $70,000 for a down payment. Okay, that house that was 380,000 right around the corner is now 580,000 because someone was able to jack the price of their house up and get off of it.
Especially if you live in Texas, Austin is a rapidly growing place, but there are companies and there are folks walking into neighborhoods in Austin, Texas, like the surrounding urban areas, and they're just like, "Hey, you want to sell your house?" And people are like, "No, I've lived here like 10, 15 years. The fuck do I want to do that? My mortgage is paid off." And they're like, "Okay, we'll offer you 1.5 over asking price." 1.5%? No, 1.5 mil.
Oh, wow.
I'm selling.
And they're like,
house.
Yeah.
Say what? And they're like, "We'll write you a check today. You just got to be out in 3 days."
I'm taking those fucking
damn tent for a year.
I would sell my house right there and then and be like, "Cool. I'm gonna go out to Bernie, Fredericksburg, anywhere right outside, like 45 minutes outside of the city, and just I'll go find me a fucking cabin." There's so many fucking nice houses right up this highway right next to us. We were up in Bernie today, and I saw like 4 like ranch style houses that just had 3, 4, 5 acres, and it's nothing but just fenced in land.
Dude,
right on the road.
I'll take half of those dividends that I make from that house, and I'm gonna invest in SP 500 because it went up like 22% last year, and it's 22.4%. And it's ridiculous.
I'm not investing in shit,
bro. I'm investing in it. I'm taking the 40,000 I'm sitting on, and I'm gonna throw it into SP 500.
You're gonna lose about a quarter of it.
Nope, I'm not, because every year it tends to go up.
So okay, what I'm doing,
but that still happened from 04 to 07. And it was like, "Oh, every year it's going up a little bit." But and as soon as the housing market shot down through the roof, everybody else was like, "Oh, got to pull my money out of the stock market." And before everybody could get to their money,
yep. And that's
good luck with your S&P.
That's what I'm counting on. The
buying that dip as soon as it fucks everybody over.
It falls, and as soon as the house market crashes, we put some money aside that we have the ability to buy a couple of duplexes and quadplexes. As soon as the housing market crashes, and I hate thinking about like I'm going to benefit off of someone else's bad situation, right?
Start voting better.
Oh yes,
there's my fucking answer.
But it's about taking care of my family and the longevity and my retirement plan, right? And so once that happens, we're going to gobble up as many foreclosures as our savings will allow us to do.
Oh, yeah.
Good, smart.
That's smart. Like it's like
and you just got to plan and prepare for that 3-year hiatus where nobody's going to want to buy that shit.
Yep. And then, but the rental market, when that happens, skyrockets.
Oh yeah.
So, and that's what
is also becoming our most sincere problem in this country is the amount of renting that's going on because people don't want to own because owning normally costs it. I don't want to say it costs an arm and a leg because recently it hasn't, or up until recently, but now it's like even in Texas, you buy a house, you might pay between like $4,000 and $10,000 in 2 years just in property tax,
Right.
just for the basic house. So I mean, everybody like it's the same thing. Back when I was in Japan, a bunch of my buddies hit me up. They're like, "Hey, is it true that there's like Nikes and Jordans just everywhere for cheap?" I was like, "You fucking this isn't Tokyo Drift, motherfucker.
Hey, what do you mean?
They're not selling Jordans at like high school for like $100 over asking price." I was like, "No, these people know what the fuck they're doing,"
Yeah.
and so now it's the same here where everyone's kind of like, oh, well, like you can move to Texas, or you can move to, like Montana and all those other places and get houses for cheap. No, those people know what the fuck their land is worth. They're not dumb.
Nope.
I would never
Austin,
sell
Yellowstone, Denver. I remember my first couple of times going out to Denver or Colorado Springs, and the housing market was super cheap. Now, no way in hell. No way in hell.
To rent a 3-bedroom home in Denver right now, it's like almost $3,000 a month.
Jeez.
That's crazy. Like, and that's in Aurora, like just southeast.
Wow.
So much. It's like
I'm looking at a 2-bedroom corner apartment right now that is going for $3,200.
That's ridiculous.
And I have my 2-bedroom that's maybe 300 square feet less or so. For base rent is $1,599.
Lucky.
Your boy got in when it was that prime time.
Like
and we're in a prime spot of town too. So we have all types of shops and shopping centers up here, good school district, plenty of gyms, Six Flags, all the Starbucks you could ever want, all the white people shit that there could be.
I like
Steve,
Starbucks.
you're in San Antonio or Austin?
San Antonio.
Okay. Yeah.
Northwest side.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Six Flags is just around the corner from me, man. That's a prime location.
Six Flags is like walking distance, 15 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah, all I have to do is walk under. So it's a 2-mile route that goes around like all the shopping centers by me. But if I run that route, I get to like the gate of Six Flags within like 5 minutes.
Got it. Wow. There you
Yeah.
go. That's
Phil,
awesome.
tell us about you. Tell us about Warrior WOD and everything it's about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So Warrior WOD, we're a nonprofit. We're located in Charleston, South Carolina, but we support veterans globally. And we prioritize exercise and nutrition as a leading prescription for veterans suffering PTSD. And the way that we do that is any veteran that comes to our program and they're struggling, we give them 6 months of a gym membership. And my preference is CrossFit, right? But and just because when you walk into a CrossFit gym, what do you see? You see all the banners, you see the hero WODs, you see the appreciation for the military. However, if they want jiu-jitsu, Orange Theory, Pilates, I don't care. I just want them to get active. And at the same time, we'll pair them up with a certified nutritionist and then a mentor, another veteran that's walked a mile in their shoes, probably struggled themselves, and they walk the journey with them for the 6 months. The idea is that we get them to a point where they've changed their lifestyle and they could take the ball and run with it themselves. Yeah. And so that's the premise, and that's the Reader's Digest of Warrior WOD. It started, really the journey started as I left the military, maybe even when I was in the military, man. The reality is I was in the military in a time where officers and senior enlisted did not talk about mental health issues because they were terrified of not getting command or not getting a leadership position.
Still the same. Continue.
Sure it is.
Ain't shit changed.
That stigma, in my opinion, is horseshit. Just being very blunt about that, right? Because if you are willing to take care of yourself, no different than when I was in Ramadi, I remember very bluntly, I had a gunny look at me and go, "Sir, you have to sleep. if you don't sleep, you're no good to us. And that was a realization to me that we have to take care of ourselves. Our mental health's no different, right?
I'm sorry, Gunny. I haven't had my crayons today.
Find me a box of Crayola 72 count and I'm good to go.
There you go. Yeah.
Who are you to tell me I have to sleep, motherfucker?
I don't need sleep. No, but at the end of the day, I got out in 2013 and I dealt with my own struggles. I got wounded in 2007 during the battle for Ramadi, and the physical wounds didn't limit me very much. It was, you've seen Monty Python, right? It's merely a flesh wound. And so, I walked away significantly better, even though I was wounded, than so many of my brothers and sisters, right? And so,
did we have sisters in Ramadi back then? I'm not to be an asshole. I just
not really. So we had I was a Marine, but I was attached to an Army battalion, the first of the 506. And
you must have been fucking slapping your forehead every day.
Just God, why?
It was, man, as a brand new second lieutenant, it was one of the weirdest things that I grew up in a Marine culture. Then I'm stuck in a Army battalion that has SEALs and airmen and,
what the fuck?
EOD from the Navy. It was this weird
what basket weaving underwater bullshit is this?
What kind of joint force is that?
And so in one place I would get saluted, and then the other place they wouldn't salute, and then another place it was. And in Marines, we don't salute in combat. We refuse this.
No one's supposed to ever.
Yeah, that's the same thing from because we're fucking dummies and we didn't learn from fucking
Vietnam.
No, yeah, but what was that? Forrest Gump.
No,
when he shows up and he salutes Lieutenant.
Yep.
Put your hand on, you limp dick motherfucker.
Exactly.
What's wrong with you?
And I remember very distinctly walking towards the chow hall. So you had Camp Ramadi, and then we were on the other side, Camp Commando and Camp Crigador of Ramadi. And it was a shitty little place. But walking into the chow hall, I had a specialist try to salute me. First time ever seen that in combat. And it was, everything short of that.
Sit down, Spec 5.
What the fuck are you doing?
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, and I'm looking over the walls because the chow hall was right on the perimeter of the base, and I can see Ramadi and the locals just walking around. It's like, and like if there's a sniper that's in a hide anywhere close,
screwed.
I'm already risking myself walking to the fucking DFAG. Leave me alone, man. Like, for fuck's sake, is my fucking fade not high and not tight enough for you to not fuck around with me today?
But yeah, man, like I came back with a few issues, nothing that was so bad that drove me to some of the other issues that the veterans are dealing with today. The statistics of 6,100 veterans a year taking their lives, 30 veterans a day.
It's up from 22.
It is
in the Army. So I don't know. Is that military or is that just Army?
Military. We can look it up.
Yeah, it's military wide. It's when you look at the VA report from 2022, it's increased. But here's another statistic that is not talked about very much. So we're talking about 22 veterans take their lives a day, right? On the other side of the equation, there's an additional 30 veterans that die a day from losing their battle from substance abuse.
Fair.
So that's drug and alcohol. That's a slow death. Mm-hmm. And so that's 50 plus veterans a day that we no longer have with us because of their demons. And that is the premise of what we're trying to do.
Look at that, high and tight. Hell yeah, man. Ken, that would have been you if you were a real man.
I'm not gonna join the Marine Corps. That's crazy. That was
you shouldn't now. They're kicking out fucking commanders for dumb shit now.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be my next question, but
yeah,
we'll get through this real quick. One of the things I thought that was really shitty and I think I reposted it, Ken. I don't know if you followed me back then, but it was back when General fuck's his name from the army, General Milley.
Millie?
No, when he was on Capitol Hill last year, and it was all about the critical race theory shit, and he was like,
Yeah.
it was like the division and the training that we need to combat the division within our soldiers' ranks is the most important issue in our military right now. And I remember that same dude, Dan Holloway, tweeted him, and he was like, "Really? It's not the fucking 30 some odd veterans from the United States Army that are killing themselves every day? That's not the issue. We don't want to handle that first."
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I went to my critical race theory class the next day.
It's so dumb.
I was like, "What the fuck are we doing here, guys?" As my three soldiers are black, looking at me like, "Wow, Sergeant Holt, you're a real piece of shit, aren't you?" And I was like, "Well, by these standards, I guess I am." And they're like, "Well, we feel like we don't want you to be our NCO anymore. We're going home." And I was like, "You know what? Cool, fine. I'm good with that. You guys go ahead." And I signed him in and I sat in the training without him. The next day I was like, "Hey, am I enough of a good NCO for you guys? You guys gonna behave for me today?"
It's like the priorities that the military has now are more in line with the political ties that whoever's in office, like, okay, we need to.
I think they just forget that we're war fighters.
Yeah, like you don't want somebody that's super duper sensitive to every little thing that someone says they are or are not. It's a matter of fighting a war and winning. You're supposed to deter aggression, fight wars, and win. That's it.
Well,
Period.
One of the things I think they definitely overlook is like if you look back at like they said it used to happen in Vietnam and all that shit, and I'm sure that people called people insensitive names back then because that's just what culture did. But even not to remind us of Forrest Gump again, but even in that movie, like his best friend was somebody of a different race. He had no fuck clue who he was. That shit continued forever in all forms of the military. The only place in the military that it has ever truly affected people is in company, battalion, and brigade level leaderships.
Yeah.
Where somebody got passed over because of race, or somebody got bitched at, or somebody got probably bitched at too hard because somebody was like a little closeted racist behind the door, or like just kind of was like, "Oh, it's because he didn't grow up like the rest of us," or some dumb shit like that, right? That's where it always is a problem, is in leadership. No, it's always commanders. No offense to commanders, but it's always them being like harsh on soldiers, and then soldiers being like, "Hey, I'm the only black guy in the platoon. Meanwhile, I'm fucking painting rocks outside, but Joe Schmo got a DUI and beat his wife and late to formation, but we just promoted him, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because he fucking runs fast."
It's funny because I was one of.
Oh, you were one of them?
I was one of
Piece of
three.
shit.
I was
I
one
knew
of
it.
3 black officers in my entire brigade.
You're kicking all the white people out, huh?
That's
You were trying to get a Fab Five, huh?
It's funny. It's funny that you say that because like
Because it's true.
I almost got relieved from my position because one of my soldiers took his own life.
Oh,
Actually, I did get removed from my position, but it was a change of rate or OER. But it more or less had the wording of, "Oh, we feel like your leadership was lacking. That's why this soldier decided to shoot himself in the head." I'm like, no. He got really drunk. He was underage drinking. And they were like, "Well, why didn't you know he was underage drinking?" I'm like, "Well, because I'm not the know-all, be-all of everything."
I don't live in the barracks in his room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like I wasn't at his house on post with his wife. Like, why don't you ask his wife this question? Like, no, it's just a hard time for her. Well, it's a hard time for me. I see him longer throughout the day than his wife does. So how do you think I feel?
I was just eating my box of crayons, guys. That's all I was doing was trying to get my nutrition in.
But you still
tell me you're just at home eating an MRE trying to field prep.
But you said that you essentially started this based off of what you had seen in early on in the Iraq war.
Yeah, so 2006, 2007, that's the height of the deployments that I went through. I also deployed in 2009, a little bit more subdued of a deployment. Things were calming down quite a bit, right? And I got out in 2013, and the VA, they wanted to prescribe me all kinds of antidepressants, and I started to go down that route, and all of a sudden I realized it was just numbing me in all
Yeah.
aspects of my life. I was just a walking vegetable. My occupational capability, my social capability just fell, right? And so
SSRIs.
Yep, absolutely. And so fast forward to 2015, just on a whim, there was a CrossFit gym in Houston, Texas that was literally running distance from my place. And on a whim, I joined it, started showing up, and within a year, I was completely off my antidepressants. I was, you know, I didn't rely on alcohol to numb my pain at night. I was kind of free of my demons. I still dealt with it, right? Because if you deploy and you see some of the chaos of war, you're not coming home the same person.
Yeah, 100% been there. Yeah.
But, no, and it's not that I have deployed, but whenever you do go through like tragedy in your life, if you're a strong person, it hits you subtly.
Yep.
Exactly. It hits you in ways that you cannot see because they're right under your nose.
Yep.
Other people can see them over time, but even just claiming, I guess, like, not to hijack this, but like with me and my mom, I don't talk to her anymore. And just the struggle of like finally breaking free of certain shit in families, I slowly started to change myself in a way that eventually, like, my wife was like, "Oh, but you sure you don't ever want to do that again?" And I was like, "Not a fucking chance." Nope. Yeah. But I mean, when you have actual tragedy or actual like distress, it will change you in the moment, but nobody else will see it, especially if they're going through the same.
Yeah.
So like a platoon would not necessarily see that unless it was like drastic. But then, yeah, when you come home, hey, like Lieutenant so-and-so is not as like happy-go-lucky. He's much more like serious, self-centered, focused on this, and then he wants to get the fuck out of here at the end of the day. Sometimes it's beneficial. Sometimes it's, hey, like, we need you to come back and be the leader you were, because that's when things were good.
Yep, 1000%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. So finished that year. Things changed drastically. Met my wife about the same time, and you know, I attribute a lot of that to just my life outlook just changed. You know, I was more outgoing, things getting better. We moved on a whim to Charleston. I'm originally from Charleston, grew up in Charleston. In my 9-to-5 job, I got the opportunity to live anywhere in the Southeast. And I looked at my fiance at the time and was like, "What do you think about Charleston?" And she was like, "Let's do it." And she's a Texan. So I didn't think there was a chance in hell that she was going to leave Texas. But
for Charleston.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we went, and I showed up, and we started looking for a CrossFit gym for me. And we poked around a couple different CrossFit gyms, but one of the gyms, when we messaged them, they basically said, "Listen, when you get here, we're going to help you move. We'll help you unpack." You know,
oh, wow.
We moved in June. It was June 19th we got here.
Hot as balls.
Hot as balls.
Damp.
Absolutely. Yep. Humid. It was miserable, but for 4th of July, they do a week of HeroWads. And it's not the typical
stuff.
What they do is they ask their members, "Hey, do you have a veteran that has lost their life that you want to honor?" And so I was the newest member. They came to me and was like, "Hey, we know you're in the military. Do you have someone?" I was like, "Absolutely. I've got a guy." You know, I was one of his best friends in college. And when we deployed, the day that I landed in Iraq, a sniper took his life. And so we did a hero watch for him. And when we finished that, the owner of the gym at Iron Bridge CrossFit, huge shout out to Shannon and Donnie. They're amazing, amazing people. Shannon looked at me and said, "Hey, you've got to go talk to this guy, Justin." I was like, "Okay, cool." Went and talked to Justin, didn't know anything about it. And he was like, "Yeah, man, we're doing my brother's hero WOD tomorrow. Will you join us?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I will." And so I show up the next day, and Justin starts talking about his brother. His brother and I were in the same unit.
Oh,
that's cool.
Separated by a year. So he went to Fallujah, got wounded there, came back with demons, got out of the Marine Corps, and then I showed up. So we never really met. And so he came home 10 years later after dealing with demons and, alcohol and drugs, ends up losing his life, losing the battle. He's one of those 30 that substance abuse took his life. And
Jesus.
I'm talking to Justin, and he's like, that was my big brother. I followed in his footsteps. I was going down this path as well. And it was through fitness that I was able to get out of it. It was through CrossFit. And I was like, man, there's something here. So after hearing his story and then letting it like percolate for a couple months, we came up with the idea that, exercise and nutrition needs to be part of the care plan for veterans suffering with PTSD. It absolutely has to be.
Yep.
And so that is the premise of what we do. I'm not here to replace what the VA does. For some people, it helps them. For some people, it doesn't. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to even try to argue that. What I will say is that adding this to the equation will expedite the recovery. And we may be able to get ahead of the statistics of 22 and 30 and, all the other negative statistics, we need to get ahead of.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I think that I know from personal experience, the tightest family I've had is like the people at the CrossFit gym. Like I go in there and those people don't care that I'm Black, that I can't do certain things or I couldn't do certain things. And now it's
you're Black?
It's weird, huh? I got red hair. But it stems from when I go in there, it's kind of like when you're in the Army or the military in general and you try to teach someone something, you figure out how much you actually know. So you try to give what you have to somebody else to make them better. And it's just stewardship. And you do that without realizing it in that community that is CrossFit. And some of the most eye-opening or least depressed times that I have is when I'm in the middle of a workout or I'm done with it. I'm like, oh man, I just did a really hard thing and everything else seems a little bit easier. It doesn't have to be a monumental change and me feeling like life's a lot easier. It's just I got a break for a minute from all the other 18,000 things in my life or the depression or the thoughts that I've had. And I feel a lot better from it. And what you're doing is really special. I don't know why it's not bigger than what it is. I understand that I'm looking at your Instagram profile now for Warrior WOD, and I'm like, man, there needs to be more people that follow this or assist with this or fundraise for this, because it's really helpful. That if people go, oh, what's the biggest problem we have in America right now? I'm like, it'd be health in general and then mental health. And you can fix the second one by fixing the first one. If you feel good about yourself or accomplish something each day, then the second one kind of comes with it.
I think that statement that you just said needs to be the header for this podcast.
What statement was what exactly did I say?
He doesn't even fucking know.
First one by fixing the second one. You could fix the physical health by fixing the mental health by fixing the physical health.
Yep.
That sums
real quick. Is it so much a mental health problem? Playing devil's advocate here, but also a little bit of my own beliefs. Is it mental health or is it mental strength?
Health. Go ahead, Phil.
I want to hear your take on this too, Ken, because that was a quick answer.
It depends. So there's a book.
I'm talking majority of people.
So Lieutenant Colonel Grossman, he's an Army Lieutenant Colonel. He wrote On Killing and On Combat, and he talks about the psychological aspects of what originally it was special ops. So it was Green Berets and Delta and stuff. What happens when they take someone's life and they're tragic.
They get a freedom boner. We all know that, guys.
Well, yeah.
Was this JV?
There's the other aspect of the typical police officer or firefighter or EMT or just the typical grunt or airmen or sailors.
No, don't give them the credit. Nope.
Either way, there's something psychological that happens, right? And whether it's mental health or mental strength, everybody shows up to the military in a different place.
Yeah, that's true.
So if it's Jocko, who is well renowned as someone that demonstrates extreme ownership and mental health, maybe it is mental health or mental strength for him. And for someone like me that maybe not has the training and just the nature of him, maybe it's the opposite. But
if you had to place this to the general public, like everybody on this fucking spinning rock, you think the issue is mental health or mental strength?
I think that we as a civilization struggle with having mental strength. We're lacking in mental strength, whether it's from our upbringing or the fact that we no longer have traumatic things happening through our life, or Darwin, or whatever you want to equate it to.
Oh, Darwin's still working. Don't anybody who's listening to this be
He's
confused.
never going to stop working.
Yeah, fucking natural selection still happens.
It does. However, I could do something incredibly stupid and be at the ER and they could save my life. Whereas 50 years ago, I would have been a statistic.
But that's true. But with that, then it saves your life, but it doesn't save your life to allow you to continue being stupid. Because most, if not everybody, I would probably say like 7 out of 10 times, whatever stupid thing you did, unless you're trying to kill yourself on purpose and like with gusto to it, you're probably going to be like, all right, cool, we're not going to do that again. And then you would most likely tell your kids, hey, dad did that thing that one time, and
yeah,
we'll go there.
I guess to tie off of what Phil was saying, I think about the first time that I had to take somebody's life, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. This is it's a sore subject because it's hurtful. You essentially at 24 years old, I played God, and that's what I was. I was a judge, jury, and executioner of that person's existence on this earth. And the thing that made me realize,
what was that pussy's name?
But I don't have no idea. But if
you didn't murder that,
if you think of it in terms of, or not even thinking in terms of, but if I go back and tell you what happened a year afterwards when I finally came to terms or actually processed what I had done, I went back and I thought the same thing I just said, judge, jury, executioner. And then I thought of the story of that person's life because I went through some therapy. And I didn't do the combat or the combat psych. They have psych for combat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I chose not to do it because I was like, oh, I'm fine. It's cool. But I didn't realize that the entire time I was saying this while I was or after it's happening, my hands are shaking. I wasn't processing everything forward the way I should have been.
Right. You were like, I got some meditating to do. I got some fucking thoughts to posture.
But a year later, so I thought I had the mental strength for it, right? But a year later, I sat back and I thought of what that person's life story was. And this is an exercise in like DBT therapy that they do with like IOP and things like that. And I got more of it the last year that I was getting ready to get out of the Army. And I sat at a table and I cried about this thing because this person had to be at the most maybe 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And I thought someone lost a son, someone lost a nephew, someone lost a brother, someone lost a potential member, someone lost out on the gift that person gives with their life. When someone takes their life or you take someone's life, that light is struck out. There's no redo. There's no Call of Duty. I'm going to respawn at this point and go back and do it again.
That we know of.
I'm pretty certain that one person, their unique thoughts is what it is. And when you do that, that's a test in mental strength. But going back on the back part of that, the mental health aspect is everything I've done to this point forward. I have released some anger issues. I've talked about the things that made me different from my deployment. I've talked about the things that are nitty gritty and that I don't want to deal with. And I've become a better person for it. I think a big issue with our society is that people don't have the perspective of the other person.
Yeah.
And when you gain perspective as to what someone is going through, like I can say all day that, I don't think that Mexicans should come across the border, but I'm not but I'm not one of those people. I don't
better dial that
understand,
back there,
but
son.
I don't understand the struggles they went through. I don't get that. And if the more I understand and educate myself on their struggles, the more I understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's also like, okay, so this plays it almost into that abortion conversation that I had with Jess the other day. So let's take the immigrants coming up through the southern border as an option here. Is it so much that we don't see their side of things and why they would want to appear here, right, and come here for life? Or do we not see what is going on where they're from and have I guess like an honest conversation of, is it the escape that people in the world are trying to look for now, or is it dealing with the problems up front? Because if we were good people in this country, or we had good leaders, I would have taken a fifth of that $40 billion that we supposedly are going to send to Ukraine. And I would give it to Guatemala, and I would have them start opening mines to mine their rare earth metals. And then be like, hey, all you people that want to come to the US, go back home, right? Because no offense, but we can't take you because we just can't do it the right way. But we'll fund each and every one of you guys to get jobs down there, and we'll use our companies to go do it.
When I think about everything, and you can kind of fit this mold into any of the conversations, and zero argument here. We've never, and I use my experience in 2006, 2007 in Ramadi. I was a combat advisor, and I lived and breathed with the Iraqi army. We had a very small team. We lived with them. We were embedded. We did operations with them. And I had this realization after talking to some of the Iraqi officers, like, I've never had to think about Red Dawn. We've all seen the movie, right?
True. Yep.
Entertaining. But even while I was deployed and even after I got wounded, I still was planning for my investments, and I was planning for when I got home and, the house that I was going to buy and everything. We don't plan for Red Dawn.
No, we don't. And yes, it is nice that we don't have to.
But if we did have to, and if we were put in this position of the people in Guatemala or Mexico or any of the people that are trying to cross the border, whether it's South America or, any other country, I think we owe it to them to understand their perception of what they're dealing with and what we would do if the U.S. was dealing with Red Dawn.
So I think we definitely do owe other countries, even like Ukraine, which no matter where I sit on the topic, I think the normal average everyday people don't deserve the shittiness of the situation.
Yes.
But the thing that separates this country from every other one in its infancy, still, it's only like 250 some odd years old, is we have a long history of people people underestimate the original story, and it's a story that I think the country has lost because it's just not that many people talk about it or just can actually relive it without trying to nowadays call somebody a racist or, X, Y, and Z. But there were people that stood toe to toe with professional warfighters and said, not today. And also said, I'm not giving you another cent. I'm not giving you any more of my corn, no more of my cows.
Yeah.
None of it. You're not getting another fucking thing. And if you take that step forward, I'm not a liar. I will fucking put you in the ground. And then they did it. And that is something that I feel like Japan, when they went through all of their culture wars and stuff, and then their war with China, that was one of the things that they were severely aggressive about, because they were just like, not taking shit from fucking nobody.
Yeah.
But then you see other countries around the world where, yeah, we don't have anything. We have very little food, very bad water, very bad healthcare, very bad like medicine in general. Is this the fight we really want to fight? And then, of course, there's some bully that normally comes to power that comes walking around strutting his shit, being like, "Oh, I'll fucking be your leader." You know, like what was it? Haiti. They were like at one point the richest country in the world after everybody donated after the earthquake. And then they all elected a fraud as a leader. Now they're still the poorest nation in the world. That doesn't deal with fighting necessarily, but I'm saying like other countries sometimes don't have that will. And I feel like that is a will that man has, but not all countries have, because there are like, you have to be willing to lay down your life for the shit you have and the shit other people have to get to this.
What you're explaining is the collective action dilemma, and what a collective
True,
action,
but that's why I ask: is it mental health or is it mental strength? Is it something that people need to kind of? I hate the fucking term like pull yourself up by your bootstrap, but do you need to buck up a little bit in the world now for these issues? Or I'm not so much talking about like veteran suicide or like helping out veterans anymore. I'm talking about just the world in general, outside of just the military.
I think that one thing that we all three of us have in common is that we did something that was bigger than ourselves. We served something. Yeah. We were like servants. We were obedient servants. We were obedient servants to something. And if you ever read that poem by Orson Welles, it's called Obediently Yours. It says like a very good piece in there. I have it pulled up now. I listen to it often when I kind of think about, am I being selfish about something or am I being selfless? It kind of goes, each day you have to earn what you own. That's through doing good works, giving, freeing people that are under oppression. And even teaching people that are more ignorant than you about something, that open dialogue is what we're missing. So I think we're missing a big sense of community not just in, I won't say the world, I go to a more centric scope of just for your neighbor next door. How if your neighbor next door is having a hard time with something or they're trying to change their tire, for example, would you look at them and go, they can figure it out? Or would you go, hey, would you go,
not my problem, bucko?
Yeah, but see, that's where it stems from. Not my problem. We look at people that need something that have less than us and we go, oh, they need to solve that shit on their own. But if we had more of the community aspect that we got from the military or from being in CrossFit, because CrossFit is just another label for community. The military is just another label for
That's community. What it's supposed to be, yeah.
For the most part, if you find a good gym, you get that community. And what Phil is doing is he's trying to create another community within the community, and it will hopefully blossom and grow into something that saves one. If he saves one person's life, that's good enough. And
you will probably never know that. That's the unfortunate part, is there will never be a statistic for Phil or anybody to ever know is like he actually did. Like, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you want to say like even if it saves one life, right? But that will always be a situation that you most likely will never actually know.
But it's something that we could always strive to.
Yes, I'm not saying don't strive for it. I'm not saying that shouldn't be the goal, but I'm saying alongside the parallel with that goal is you don't want to know, because if you do know, then it doesn't ruin it. And I don't think that like somebody coming out and saying like, hey, what you did helped me is bad. I'm just saying in the sense that most times if people don't commit their actions or don't follow through with ideations, most of the time they're not one to just walk around back, hey guys, I didn't do a thing today. They're just kind of like, you know what, man, I'm going to double down and I'm going to reinvest in whatever the fuck helped me. And then if you start noticing that and somebody starts coming around, they start donating more money or they start being like, hey, I want to help out in more ways. Probably a good tip that something that you did or that they experienced in your presence or through the presence of your movement, that's when you start having people, especially like in the military, when people start doubling down on their service and they're like being better leaders or being better NCOs, that's when you know that like something has hit them that is bigger than what they thought they were a part of. So
they became a good steward.
The three of us, we
more
were
or less
in leadership positions. I feel like, and maybe this is me being false to myself, but I feel like I was a good leader when I was in the military. I didn't need someone to come up and say, "Hey, sir, like you're the reason why I stayed in, and now I'm a master sergeant or a sergeant major. You're the reason why I made the commitment to go to MARSOC or whatever the case is." Right?
Mm-hmm.
I never needed that, and in this case, if we're making impacts and we're working with veterans and helping to reduce those PTSD symptoms and giving them quality of life, that's good. That's good enough. If we're getting them to a point where they can run with the ball, and they may never even equate it to what we've done that helped them, that's fine, because it's a huge coalition, whether it's the CrossFit gym or myself or the other tens of hundreds of different nonprofits that are helping veterans. I don't think we need to be working in isolation. We're working together. And if it, my wife looked at me when we were taking over or starting this process, and I didn't know what the hell 501c3 was when we started this.
Yeah.
And we started going down this process, and I was like, man, this paperwork's killing me. And my wife looked at me, she's like, listen, we're trying to get pregnant. Is this something you want to do? And I was like, well, if we can save one person's life, it's worth everything that we have in the bank, and it's worth all the time. And it's interesting. It's the story of the egg or chicken. Which one comes first?
Circular pattern.
Right now, we are dealing with the funding problem. We're relatively new. We're a year old. And grants, big grants, like meaningful grants, they want to see results.
Do you write all your grants?
I just brought on someone last month that's starting to help, but I've been writing grants myself. And man,
it's hard.
Oh, it's vast. I mean, so hard. And
I used to write them for research programs.
Well, then I'm going to pick your brain after this.
You were free to.
We're definitely struggling in that arena. We're lucky that we've had some donors, and we've had 2 functional fitness competitions that has brought in some money. But outside of that, I'm financing everything out of my savings, because we need results for grants to give us time of day, but I need funds to be able to get results. So which one comes first, the funds or the results? And so we're in that dilemma. And to me, it's worth using my savings to pay for these veterans gym memberships and nutrition and mentorship, so that we get the results, so that we can get veterans to a steady point in their life. Not only are we making an impact in their lives, but we're, by getting these results, getting the ability to make impact in future veterans' lives. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. That's our big struggle right now.
Fair. Yeah, I don't know. It's a really good tool for you is just SAMHSA, SAMHSA. They have a lot of like free things and tools you can use inside of there. And it's really, really helpful. But if you need help writing grants, please email me the grant write-up. I will proofread it and help you do whatever. But
I'll probably write it for you.
Yeah, I'll probably wite it for you. I just wrote I just wrote a legal contract for this management business that I'm trying to help out with. But essentially, you're going with the approach of writing grants first. That's all fine and dandy, Phil. Like, that's great. But that process is so long and arduous that it would be so much easier to get in contact with people that'll throw you a $50,000 check, man, to get the results to build that grant base.
We're hitting both avenues. And luckily we've had a couple of people donate a little bit of money, which has springboarded us forward. And then we've got a competition going on for PTSD Awareness Month. I Got Your Six team competition. People were starting to register. That's helping to springboard. We've got enough funds now from that we can take care of 2 veterans for 6 months. And so we're slowly getting to the point where we're making meaningful, or we're gaining meaningful contributions. But yeah, you're 100% right. what is going to benefit us better in the first 2-3 years is those individual contributors. But selfishly, I want to springboard this forward as fast as possible so that we can help as many veterans as possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a really hard thing you're trying to do. Well, I won't say hard. That's a really layman's term for. I have a very better vocabulary than that. It's fucking difficult, man.
Yeah,
it's really fucking difficult, and for you to do the type of work you're trying to do requires a team. Like, you need a board of people to help and assist with those things. But I can say from the other side, and I'll go back to the book I read On Killing. It was On Killing, and what was the other one? On Combat. Yeah. So I read them both, and it kind of had this ring to it. Why can these soldiers kill when other people would flee? That's the research question. That's the question. So I can go and say that the general population doesn't have the outlook that we have on these issues and these things, and they assume that, hey, just get over it. I go to my job every day and it's shitty, just get over it. It gets even worse when you look at police officers and first responders, because they're the first people to see those mangled bodies from crashes and, these murders, or, children being molested, for the sad part about it. But how do you think that we kind of bridge those two things together? How do we get people to realize what is going on in the community and help out more?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just awareness, what it comes down to. Luckily, so my grandfather was in the Marine Corps for 30 years. He's 90 years old in July. Every day of his life has something to do with the Marine Corps. He did Toys for Tots for the last 45 years. And when I say Toys for Tots, I don't mean like contribute a little bit. Like from October 31st, when Toys for Tots starts, he contributes every single day until December 24th. At 85 years old, he's running circles around the staff sergeant in the reserves. And so it's awareness. People need to be able to see that kind of stuff. And they also need to see, when he came back from Vietnam, let me rewind a little bit, because I think this is very impactful. I came back from my first deployment. My grandfather goes, so tell me about the worst day of your life, or your worst day of your deployment. And I told him, and it was kind of a shitty situation. And then he's like, what's your best day? And I remember very distinctly Colonel Minnick, who was our MIT commander, for the Marine Corps birthday, got a bunch of pound cakes, MRE pound cakes, some candles, and then he smuggled in beer from Syria for us, because we couldn't have it, right? But because we were in an Iraqi battalion, we had the cover of the Iraqis bringing it in. And so we had a birthday ball, and it was amazing. And then I started talking to my grandfather. I was like, tell me about your worst day. And he told me, and I was just appalled. It was like Way City kind of stuff, right? And
getting in those rat holes, ripping motherfuckers' faces off.
Oh yeah. I mean, it just, I couldn't believe this gentle, kind man that he's telling me this story. And then I was like, tell me about your best day. And he starts telling me about his best day. And arguably my worst day was still better than his best day.
Yeah. The worst thing you've ever been through is the worst thing you've ever been through. That's it. You have no other metric to discern that from. And that's what people don't understand in general. I think the society as a whole doesn't understand that, okay, Jenny down the block got fired from her job, right? She got another one the next week. Well, yesterday, my fucking dog got hit by a car. This seems like the worst day for both of us, but which one's really worse? It doesn't matter. It's perspective. Let's try to help each other out.
And then I added that, like when my grandfather came back from Vietnam, we both went through Atlanta. Like when I came home from Iraq, when he came home from Vietnam, when he was on the plane, they forced him to change before he got off the plane. so that he wouldn't get spit on, right? That was the thing.
I would have been kicking people straight in the goddamn nuts.
I agree 1,000%.
Fuck out of here.
1,000%. Now, I came back in 2007 at, the beginning of the surge, and the American population was very pro-military. I walked in, I shit you not, I was one of like 15 people in the military walking off of this plane.
I got a standing ovation.
Standing ovation, the whole airport shut down.
Yep.
Could not believe it.
Like, what?
In Atlanta?
In Atlanta, like everything shut
That is
down.
the busiest airport on the Eastern Seaboard.
The like D terminal all the way to I got the baggage claim. People stopped and clapped nonstop, and I couldn't believe it. So, I say all that to get back to Ken's question, like, what is it going to take? I think it's just awareness. The population wants to support the military. That's just the norm. It's not what we saw in Vietnam. We have a desire to help the military. They just don't understand that we're having, and I think they're starting to understand 22 a day, but they're not understanding the 30 a day that's losing to substance abuse. The 4 times the amount of people that have died in Iraq and Afghanistan have now died to handguns and pills. And so they don't understand these kind of statistics. The second that I have a conversation with someone that's not served or someone that hasn't been in the shoes that us three have been in, they're appalled. They're like, I never even knew this. That's what it's going to take. In my opinion, is you, Steve, myself, all 3 of us, and all the other people that really embrace the change, standing up and making the awareness happen.
Yeah, it's kind of messed up, but I think Steve was here. He had just left when I was like going through all of my things. Like I was suicidal for a long time. Like I had to spend 5 days on the 5th floor of the hospital here because I was like, I had drank myself into a hole. And I was about to blow my fucking brains out. Like I was about to do that. I was like, I am more valuable dead giving my children the $700,000 in life insurance than I am right now. Like I cannot deal with these demons. And it took a few good friends to talk to me, to sit me down and say, we are walking you to the therapist tomorrow on Monday, and you are going to go commit yourself, man. I'm like, I don't think I should do that. It was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life because now I understand what I would be taking away from my kids and then all of my friends, like all of my people. If I had done that, this never would have been a thing. If I had done that, I never would, I wouldn't see Steve ever again. I wouldn't see my daughter ever again. I wouldn't see my son. And funny enough, I was sitting down talking to my son. He was having a meltdown the other day because he couldn't go to his class, his last end of year picnic with his kid, with other kids. And I was like, well, why? And he explained to me, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. I'm like, well, your mom said you didn't do all these things. What do you think happens as consequences to your actions? And he was like, well, he's 12 years old. And
the way you said that though, you're like, well, your mom.
Yeah, well, I mean, your mom told me that you didn't do all these things because they're with their mom right now. And I'm like, he's sitting there all up in arms about it. And I said, well, let's stop. Let's just take a 4-second breath in, hold it for 2 seconds, and let it go for 4 seconds. He's like, what is this? I'm like, this is square breathing. And he was like, well, my sister's around here, da-da-da. And he's like getting upset that she's trying to talk to him because she knows something's up. She knows he's sad. And I sat there and I went, Isaac, look, every time I get down in a really low place or I feel bad about something or I'm like being irrational or I'm letting my emotions get the better of me, which don't get me wrong, you're supposed to have emotions, but you're supposed to also be in control of those emotions. He looks at me, he goes, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I think about you and your sister, and I think about how much of a gift you guys are. And if I was upset right now, I was like, look at your sister. She's the happiest thing in the world. She's 3 years old. She's so happy. All she wants to do is for everybody to be happy. She wants to look at rainbows, unicorns, pink stuff, and be just god-awfully excited about everything. And he was like, well, I never thought of it like that. I'm like, yes, your perspective hasn't changed from the thing that you thought was the worst thing in the world. Look at your sister. She is innocent. She is just the purest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Let her make you happy. Talk to her. Look at her and realize that you were once that small child. The thing you're
Okay,
going through, right?
hang on. Before you make me fucking cry, I have to hop out of here.
Yeah.
Ken, you can continue the story.
Yeah.
It was very nice meeting you, man. I will
Hey,
get
awesome
in touch with
meeting
you guys
Yeah.
about all this and
Yeah.
have fun closing this out.
Go. Yeah. Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I told him, he sat down and looked at it. I was like, she is the purest thing that you will ever know in your entire life, besides the point that you have children or you get a dog. She doesn't know evil. She doesn't know sadness. She doesn't know any of these things. Look at her and understand that what you're going through isn't that bad. You're gonna make more friends. You're gonna have all these things. Life's gonna get shittier, bro. Like, it's gonna get so much shittier. Like, take this little lesson and try to use these tools I'm trying to give you to make a better decision about your emotions, because he was throwing a full-fledged tantrum.
Yeah.
And I think that people in general need to try to see the perspective of the other individual. Like, we all are so fueled up on, the thing. We can turn on the TV or we can go on Instagram on our phones and get that instant dopamine boost of stimulation. And we go, oh, this person's living the best life ever. Why is my life not this good? Well, it actually is. This person's probably in debt, thousands of dollars, or
being completely fake.
Yeah, being completely fake about all these things, and you just don't know what they're going through. You don't know the battles this person's fighting in their head. They're so close to the edge. You have to walk up and you say one crazy thing to them, and they're just gonna lose it. So
I'm gonna butcher this quote, but
Yeah.
there's something that someone told me once before, and again, I'm paraphrasing, but it's a great lesson. Be kind to anyone you come across, because you don't know what demons they're dealing with.
Yeah.
You don't know what they're, and to me, that's a lesson of perspective. How old is your son?
He's 12.
12.
Just hit puberty. He's just hit it.
You were one hell of a role model, giving him those life lessons as early as you are, because now he's going to grow up as a huge mentor throughout the rest of junior high and then high school, because he's going to think in that perspective. And there's going to be somebody that's bullied or someone that is an outcast that he's going to reach out to and take care of, and he's going to have an impact. And
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's my whole goal. Is just, I think it was a female at the gym. Her name's Gabby McClellan. She qualified for Syndicate Crown, and she's like killing it. She's won the Rogue Echo Bike Challenge twice. She came second in the deadlift for reps thing at the Rogue Invitational behind Carolyn Prevost. And she was like, oh man, like, I looked at her, I just asked, I was like, hey, do you pay for all the trips that you have to go on for all these competitions and everything? She's like, yeah, unfortunately. And I'm like, nah, you should be getting paid for this, man. She's like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, give me like a couple of hours and you should get a phone call. She got a phone call like 4 hours, and now all of her stuff is paid for. And she was like, how did you do that? I'm like, well, I just know a bunch of people and we try to help. And the biggest thing that I get from being alive, I guess, and this is what I learned in the Army as well when I went from enlisted to being an officer, is how can I help somebody else see the light of themselves? How can I help this person understand what they contribute is worth something? They get something from it, and then she or that person passes that shit on to somebody else.
The other piece of that, and I love what you're saying, because I agree 1,000%, is, one of my philosophies was that Marine. And so in the Marine Corps, I focus just on the Marines or my corpsman. Yeah. That Marine or corpsman is better because he or she was part of my command.
Yes.
And he or she, their next job, they're going to be better suited for that. Mm-hmm. And so on and so forth, right? And
yeah, that's how we get this big change. That's how we can't. People put on these, like, I saw a lot of lieutenants, because I was like I had 7 years of service in before I even transitioned over. And all these lieutenants are like, how do I change this organization? I'm like, hold on, buddy, pump your brakes. You see that platoon you have right there? They're like, yeah, I see that platoon. All right, you have a squad there. You need to talk to that squad leader and better that squad leader. How do you better that squad leader? Make sure that they're training their soldiers. It's like, well, why does that make sense? He's like, well, or I tell him, I'm like, if he knows how to train his or her soldiers and he teaches those soldiers how to train other soldiers, it's just gonna, the work that you're putting in for 2 hours to make him give you a briefing on his training for like an M4 range goes tenfold, because he's going to trickle that down to the next person. They're going to keep doing it, and the standards become whatever they are. They become a high standard of learning and mentoring. And I think we miss that, or people don't understand that in the real world, because, or the regular world, civilians, because it's kind of dog eat dog. I need to do this for myself. And yeah.
You know, the best lesson I got as a brand new lieutenant, and I didn't start off enlisted. I went to the Citadel and then straight into OCS, TBS.
And we don't hate you for that.
And there's a lot of lessons that I missed out not being, we call it a Mustang. Y'all call it what, black to gold?
No, we call it green to gold, but we call it Mustang. We call it Mustang too.
Okay. Yeah. But I had a platoon sergeant, and this is, you know, a couple of weeks after I took over the platoon, and I think he just had enough of me micromanaging. And I was 22 years old. I didn't know my asshole from my elbow. I was literally just, I had zero life experiences. And so I was trying to do what I thought was right, and command the platoon. But he pulled me into the office one day and he was like, "Sir," and this is a big dude, a big burly dude. He was like, "Sir, I'm going to kick your ass if you manage ever again." He's like, "You will come through me and you will bring the sergeants in, your squad leaders. Outside of that, you're not making a decision unless you talk to us." And it was one of those lessons where after that happened, I called it my top 5 meetings. I bring in the squad leaders, the guide, and the platoon sergeant. And I was like, "All right, guys, we're going to the K range in 2 weeks. I've got to write out the op order. What do you think we should do?"
Exactly.
And I would just sit there and let them talk. And I'm taking
notes. Big think tank.
And all of a sudden I sat there and I was like, holy shit, I'm not stressing about things because I got the expertise in the room. They've been there, done that. They're handling logistics and communication, and the vehicles are showing up on time. They've got ownership. And I was like, this is how it's supposed to happen. And I empowered them, because then those same sergeants, my first 3 sergeants all got out as master sergeants.
And you should be proud of that. You should be so proud.
Well, I mean, I hope I had a little bit of impact. 2 of them went to MARSOC.
You did. Trust me, you did.
It was just one of those, like, but I do attribute it to Gunny Carson, who was my platoon sergeant, newly promoted Gunny. He looked at me one day and said, "Sir, I'm going to kick your ass." And I believed him.
You should.
I looked at this 30-something-year-old man. I'm 22. And I knew that he was really going to kick my ass.
Yeah. I had my fire direction chief was Chief Rob. He was an E6. He's now a sergeant first class. And, you know, I came in, he was like, "Oh, you've done this before." I'm like, "In a sense, but I wasn't artillery. I was aviation." And he was like, "Well, what do you need?" He's like, he's like, no, he sat me down. He was like, "Whatever you need from us, tell me." And I was like, "Okay, cool. I need you to start running classes on table 5s, table 12s, and CalFEX. I need you just to make sure that our box operator and all of our guys can put up a OE254 antenna in the standard. And I need you to make sure that that all the shit's packed when we go to the field." He was like, "Wait," he was like, "Cool." And I was like, "Everything else that you think you can't get, tell me and I will fucking get it. I will figure it out. Because I have the rank to go, hey, Captain, Commander, such and such, I need beans, bullets, and beds. That's what I need."
You know what I equated my job as a lieutenant as, and then also as a company commander and so on and so forth? I was a shit shield. I was there to be a shit shield from higher down. And then when my Marines did something stupid, I was a shit shield from what they did to my leadership. I was a shit shield. That was my whole job. And so, you know, and I kind of use that a little bit in this current, you know, I've got a 9 to 5 and I run a sales team. Actually, the sales team is out of San Antonio, or a large portion of my sales team is out of San Antonio. Warrior WOD is my passion project. But when I think about the veterans that I'm helping, I'm a shit shield.
Yeah.
I am there to give them the resources to keep the shit from rolling downhill on them.
Exactly. Like you're like, hey, I know you got all this shit going on in your life, but here's a thing that I can help you insert into your life that makes your life a little bit better. Not valuable, because your life's already fucking valuable, man, because you're a person on this earth. How can I help you get the tools to better yourself?
How can I get you to the point where you believe your life is valuable?
Yes. It took me forever to learn that. Like, I have some moments where I'm like, oh, you're fucking dumb. I self-deprecate a lot. Like, I go, oh, you fucking idiot. And I'm like, oh, wait, no, be kind to myself. Like, oh, no, you just had a human moment. You just made a mistake. How do we fix it? Now, how do we stop it from happening again? How do we get better from this thing that we experience? So, like, I don't know. Like, it's, are you guys having, like, where's that competition based at? That competition you're at?
Virtual, man. It's completely virtual. It's so our website, warriorwod.org /comps. You can sign up from anywhere. We've got a team in Australia that just signed up. It's a team competition, male, female. Registration is $120. 100% of the proceeds go to our veteran programs. Does not go to operation costs, does not go to, none of my staff nor I take salary. And so it is 3 workouts over 1 weekend. It's going to be June 24th through the 27th. Yep. And it's in conjunction with PTSD Awareness Day. So that's kind of where we got the team mentality. Everyone has to rely on each other. Hence the name, I Got Your Six. We've got some amazing, and I'm glad you're here. We've got some amazing sponsors that helped us out. We could go down the list, but Born Primitive gave us $750 worth of gift cards that we're going to raffle off. And so these giveaways, you don't have to place. If you register, you're a part of the giveaways. Element 26 gave us 20 weight belts. They're sending us more stuff that should show up this week. I don't know what's in the box, but Rachel from Element 26, veteran owned as well, amazing human being, just wants to help us. Elite gave us $150. Tupood gave us a free custom weight belt. You can make it however you want it to be. We've got some local people giving virtual nutrition coaching, which is amazing. Victory Grips gave us a Yeti cup and some swag from them. Get RX out of Houston gave us all kinds of swag for the podium finishers. And the list continues and continues. So, man, it's going to be a great time. And the benefit is that not only do you get to throw down with your buddy, you're supporting a bigger cause. And what I really love about it, you remember when I told you that story about the guy that I met and we did that Hero WOD? That's actually him. That's Justin.
That's him right there.
Yep. So he's on our board. His brother, Nick Riccio, was in 2-2 Battle of Fallujah, Purple Heart recipient as well. The third workout that's getting announced on Monday is Riccio, which is in honor of his brother.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, we're also getting to honor an amazing person and honor his journey as well.
That is cool. That's amazing that you were able to pull all this together. Kind of, I wouldn't say solo, because you do probably have a nice team behind you, but that's a lot of work for one person. Like, I manage the stuff that goes on with this podcast and the funding, and it's rough being one person and managing all the social media, Instagrams, all that stuff. It's rough. And then you built a website and put everybody's stuff up here too. So, like,
I have an amazing team. So, I mean, you just passed Blake. I got to give him a shout out. He just lined up Bang Energy Drink. They've donated their film crew and production team. So very professional thing, right? Mm-hmm. Next weekend, I drive down to South Florida and we're going to do a legit commercial and then a bunch of social media things that like high-end quality equipment. So Blake, he's the director of marketing for How To Media, but he's donating all of his time to us to springboard our marketing plan. And so you talked about our Instagram stuff earlier.
Yeah.
We're sitting about just shy of 2,000 now, I think. But our TikTok, we're sitting closer to 80,000.
What? Really?
Yeah, and our TikTok just exploded. I did a couple of no dancing, no of the weird stuff, right? But I did a couple of PTSD awareness things, and then I did a couple making fun of the branches, the stereotypical things like Marines eating crayons, Army drinking whiskey with everything, right? The Coast Guard being kind of oblivious, Air Force being rich, and bougie. Yep, that's it.
Yep, that's it. That's pretty
To the Warrior WOD. And so we've got about 80,000 followers there, or just shy of it, I think.
3 billion views. That is insane.
Yeah. So we're making a splash. And I owe a lot of that to Blake. Courtney is our director of grants. She just started, but she's already really taken so much off my plate and made my life easier. My wife is our secretary. I couldn't do this without her, right? Justin, we talked about earlier, him and another gentleman, Matthew Steele, who is in the Army. He's a reservist now. There are directors of events. And so they're the ones really helping me make this competition become a reality. So I can't take any of the credit. My team deserves all the credit. And it really takes a family to make this happen.
Oh, I 100% get that. It takes a team to do a lot of things. Have you heard of BlitzBelts yet? Like,
what is it?
BlitzBelts?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I'm going to put you in contact with Kane at BlitzBelts. I want you to message him and tell him that I sent you. I'm going to tell him that you messaged him. And I'm 100% sure or 90% sure he would give something for this event because it's really, really special. They're like our title sponsor of the podcast. Is why I have the big B behind me, right back there. He holds a Blitz Bash every year, but their website, they have lifting belts. They just launched a new company called BlitzGrips. Oh shoot,
Yep.
That server is unavailable. What in the world? That sucks.
It's interesting. I work for a hosting company. So we do managed hosting, managed servers and stuff.
Yeah.
And now when I see server not available, it has a new meaning
to you. Yeah, you're like, I know what that is.
Yep.
I have no idea, but yeah, they have all these belts and everything, and it's like
those are nice.
Yeah, he makes them all by hand.
Damn,
they're all made by hand, and we have a podcast with him. Yeah, we had a podcast we shot with him, and he showed us the inside of the warehouse is like 2,000 square feet, and it's just him and like 5 other dudes, and and women just going to town making belts. And I have a custom belt that I won from winning Blitz Bash last year, and that's the only one that I use. It's quite honestly, yeah, it's really
those
really
are nice, man. Those are slick.
And Blitz grips. I have a pair of Blitz grips he sent me to test out. Oh gosh, do they have it? Do they have the site up? Nope, they don't have the site up. But I think you go through BlitzBelts and you can find the grips, and they have a USA red, white, and blue set of grips. And I'll talk to them and see if they can donate a few pair for your opponent finishers. I'll make sure I talk to them about it.
Man, that would be insane. Yeah, I mean, anything we can do to encourage registration. At the end of the day, the more people we have register, the more veterans we can help. That's the simple math, right? We're giving every person that registers a t-shirt. So I think it comes out to like $11 per person goes towards a t-shirt, but every other dime goes towards a veteran.
That's really good. That's amazing. If you've never heard of Mount Caramel Services, they can help you with your grant writing. John here at Mount Caramel, I'll send you an email that he sent me. with his email in there. But I'll click on it real quick for you.
Yeah.
It's not just one located in Colorado Springs. It's located all across the country. They have some all across the country, and they will help you write your grants. They will do that for you, Phil.
Man, that's insane.
Yeah. Here's the contact information, but I'll forward you an email I got from John Dix, and he holds job boards, resume writing things, and they're a purely 501c funded. They write
Awesome.
all of their grants, but yeah, they are amazing with everything that they do, and they're always looking for volunteers, especially people to help people write resumes and build them and get to different markets and career fields.
I'm happy to return the favor and help with resumes. I'm in sales. My 9 to 5 is sales, and I'm in the tech world. So I'm more than happy to help. This is the problem that I saw and I still see with veterans in their resumes. They discount their leadership experience and what they really bring to the table. And I'll put it in perspective. An infantry staff sergeant gets out after 10 years, 12 years, whatever it is. They may talk about, oh, I ran this platoon and I did this range, and the civilian me looking at the resume is like, what the hell does all this mean? Instead, they can talk about the leadership aspect of what they've done. And, sales is leadership, and leadership is sales. Every single day you have to sell those that follow you why they need to follow you and why they should respect you. Right.
Yeah.
Now you got to do it honestly. You got to do it sincerely.
Yeah.
But if you can do that, you're primed to be in sales. But people don't understand that. I took a stab at it a couple of years ago, and it kind of fell off just because a million other things got in the way. And I could tell you all the excuses, but they're just terrible excuses. But I took a stab at writing a book on why I think military people are really primed to be in sales. Because when I came into sales, I remember my first interview, and I shit you not on this. I walked into my interview, and I respect this guy highly. He ended up being my district manager. I walked in my interview, and he was like, oh, you were in the military. You don't belong in sales. I spent an hour selling him on why I should be. Now, he was trying to challenge me, but that was the stigma. That was the stigma of why, I was in the military. I shouldn't be in sales. I need to go into operations. I need to go into logistics. That was the way it was way back then, right? That's what people thought. Now, luckily, he took a chance on me, gave me the job, and it's been very fruitful for me. But a lot of veterans, they don't understand, and a lot of military members that are transitioning, they don't understand their worth.
Yeah.
And they have it. They just don't know how to articulate it.
Yeah, I didn't either when I first got out. I was like, I went through like serious depression. I was like, I'm going to be homeless. I'm not going to find a job, And now I'm like, oh, that was easy. Yeah. I had a lot, like my resume is 3 pages long, and I had to trim stuff out of it. I was like, oh shit, I did all this.
Yep.
What?
Yep. It's insane. Once that light bulb comes on, like it makes a world of difference. But I think about like the specialist or the lance corporal or the airman that gets out after 4 years, and they had some life experiences in the military. They're just not mature enough to make that connection yet. But they're light years ahead of their civilian counterpart. They don't understand that the 18-year-old version of the civilian counterpart, they're working at Walmart, they're working at Burger King, they're just getting to college, whatever the case is. Yeah. Where I'm looking at this 19-year-old, and I remember very distinctly, I had this epiphany. I looked at this 19-year-old Lance Corporal, and I was like, hey, Lance Corporal, you're going to fill a corporal's position. You're going to be a fire team leader. Here's 3 other men. Here's about $100,000 worth of gear.
Yeah.
We're pinned down over here. I need you to maneuver over here. I can't tell you much because I don't know what the hell is over there.
I'm not going to tell you how, but just tell you to do.
And if you fuck up, people here are going to die.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like I had this epiphany that this 19-year-old, if he was stateside and not in the military, what was his level of responsibility?
Oh, dude, maybe paying a phone bill, maybe.
That's it. And so, I mean, if that, right? You'd be lucky if you're not living with mom and dad still,
Exactly.
or living off of tuition or whatever the case is. The reality is these guys, they are of that magnitude. They're walking amongst giants, but they don't know how to talk to civilians that they accomplished this level of responsibility.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
circling back, if I can help anybody write a resume to get ahead, man, I would be honored to help.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's like people. I was helping a buddy just recently. He's an 18-year E7, so it's a sergeant first class in the Army. And
Yeah.
he had a resume, and I was looking at it, I was like, this reads like an NCOER. And he's like, yeah, I kind of pulled it from an NCOER. I'm like, no, bro, like you need to take that, think about all the things you've done and how that would translate into the civilian world. And I helped him build it. And he was like, holy crap, this is all the stuff I did. I'm like, yeah, man, like you managed XYZ personnel across these different metrics and these different job responsibilities. You were a platoon sergeant, right? Cool. That means that you had, at some point, you had a supply NCO underneath you. Cool. You managed logistics. Bam, you just did it.
Yep.
Cool. Like he's like, what? I'm like, yep, you did that. Like, how many times did you have to do inventories? Yep, you managed supply chain logistics and you managed the property book of a senior commanding officer. Da 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 da. And he's like, oh my god, really? I'm
And when
like,
you
yeah,
equate
bro.
that to civilian terms or business terms, here's the thing, like I feel like I'm pretty high in the pecking order in my company. But I only have 5 people reporting to me.
Mhm.
You and I were platoon commanders
Mhm.
or platoon leaders. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
leaders or what? Yeah,
Yeah.
same difference.
Same thing. Exactly. In the Army, what do y'all have? 38. We have 42.
We got 40 in a platoon.
40. So roughly the same, right?
Yeah.
22 years old is the typical platoon leader, platoon commander, with
Exactly.
22 people under their charge, or 42 people under their charge. I'm sorry. Fast forward almost 16 years later, I have 5 and I'm considered hot shit. And I remember when I interviewed for this position, they're like, hey, you know, we typically only have 3 direct reports, but you know, we're going to take a chance and give you 5. I was like, oh, okay.
I can do 10 or 15. It's okay.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to use this as a chance to brag on me, because it's not at all. I'm using it as a chance that any person that's listening to this that has a chance to interview someone that's a veteran, understand the magnitude of what they're bringing to the equation. They may not have to be able to articulate it, but what you're asking of them, they have done with their eyes closed in the past.
Exactly. And that's what I
In
realized
a
when I got
shitty
out.
situation.
Yeah, in less than optimal conditions, it's like, oh, I have to get all these things from, like, even being an executive officer, like as an XO for a little bit, I'm like, how do I get all of these things to these people across like 20 miles of terrain at NTC or on deployment or in garrison? Like, okay, let me manage it. And I managed that. And
Yeah.
holy shit. How did I feed 200 people? I have no idea.
Want to know one of the major reasons why I got out of the Marine Corps?
Why?
Because I was looking at Battalion XO.
Yeah, no, I would never. Nope. I couldn't be a major in the Army. Doing that Iron Major time on staff, God, no.
So as a captain, I filled a Army billet as an OPSO, I filled a major's billet as an OPSO and hated it.
Fucking S3, dude.
It was horrific. And the conversation was like, oh yeah, I remember very distinctly my mentor, who was the Marine officer in charge when I was a cadet at the Citadel. He was now a 2-star general, General Lake. He was the director of Intel, if I remember correctly. But as I was looking at Major, he goes, listen, Phil, at some point, every Marine officer, and I think this translates to any branch, but at some point, every Marine officer, you come in as a thoroughbred. Guess what? You've got to go to pasture.
Yep.
And you go to the glue shop because there's a new thoroughbred coming in behind you.
Yep.
And he was like, you're looking at major. You're about to go to pasture.
Yeah.
And you're going to sit behind a desk for the next 8 years. And you're lucky if you're in a wartime environment and you could have battalion command in 8 to 10 years.
Yep. You'd be sitting a jock in a building with no fucking windows. And you'd be doing 12-hour shifts. Like, that's going to be your first 3 years as a major. Good luck.
Yep, exactly.
No, I couldn't. No, I would have. I think I kicked out if that was a point. I would have lost it on somebody.
Yeah. And dude, this has been good.
Yeah. I know you got to take off. I don't want to.
I could hear the baby in the other room.
Yeah. Just tell everybody where they can find you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So warriorwad.org is our website. And then on all social media channels, it's the Warrior Wad. And you'll be able to find us. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Our biggest following right now, again, is TikTok. And then our second biggest is Instagram. I'll be honest, man, like I don't pay enough attention to the other social media stuff. But TikTok and Instagram is how you get a hold of me the fastest. If you need something, hit me up on TikTok. If you're a veteran that needs our support, please go to our website, fill out our application, go to the join our program tab. We have funding to take care of people. It's not a lot, but we will make sure that if you're in need, we'll take care of you. If you're a supporter, we can use your help. So that's my quick spin. But yeah, veterans, if you need our help, please ask for help.
There we go. That man said it the best. I'm not even going to follow up with that. That was pretty good. But yeah, we love having you on, Phil. We want to have you on again after the online competition follows through, and we see how much you've like grown and how much ever we can help you grow. Like I will do whatever I need to do to try to help you.
Yeah, man.
But those people I told you about, please reach out to them. I'll give them a heads up that you're going to reach out to them, and I'm pretty sure they'll be able to help you in some form or fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. Mount Carmel and BlitzBelt. I'll be reaching out to you first thing tomorrow morning.
Yep, just reach out to them. They will respond pretty quickly. But we appreciate having you on. Steve had to go because he's got his wife with the baby. You got a baby.
Ken, dude, this has been a good time. At some point, if I can make it out to Mountain Central time or Mountain Standard Time, I got to hang out with you.
100%, man.
And we were in Colorado over Christmas, which was weird because she was at 7 months at that time. I forget that where we went to ski. She didn't ski. I tried.
Breckenridge.
We wanted to go to Breckenridge, but it was
Keystone.
Another place. Keystone, yeah.
Keystone, yeah.
We both got COVID. So we spent the whole time in the Airbnb with COVID after one day, but it was miserable because our lungs were shot. And then we were at an elevation. It's 0 feet MSL here.
Dude, it's 6,700 right where I'm at in Colorado. And then up there, it's like 10K.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I couldn't walk up the stairs without sucking wind. It was miserable, man. So I would like to go back and be able to actually breathe regularly and enjoy the environment out there. But yeah, man, this has been good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Just let me know when you come out and just hit me up. I'll be here.
Absolutely, dude. Have a good night, man.
Take it easy, Phil. You too.
You too. Bye.